and welcome to Do the Damn Thing. Guess what? We are in Los Angeles with our new partner, the Prepared Group, the man, the legend, Ken Cook. And we just are taking out of our lunch hour to just have him throw down some gold nuggets for us about niching down. We're hearing a lot about niches are in the riches, that sort of thing. This man is brilliant, so I want to get his take on it. So, Ken, let's throw it down, man. Let's do this thing.
I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. This is way too much fun. We're having too much fun together, but Ken has been helping us with really tightening up the strategy and framework that we're going to be taking you through our platform. Battle tested. This is what you need first before you start your tactics, so you don't waste your time and money, because no one has time for that. So that's what we're doing here, talking about niches, getting you caught up here. Okay, so I don't really have to ask that many questions because the man is brilliant. He kind of was talking about it a little bit earlier, but give us some nuggets on, first, why do you think it's important to niche down?
Yeah. So niching is a really interesting thing. And it's interesting because most of us don't do it naturally, right? It's a learned skill. It's not a natural business disposition for most entrepreneurs. Most entrepreneurs' mindset is, I need to go as wide as I can, right, to collect every dollar that I possibly can get in here. And you know what? In your first 6 months, 3 months, year, where you're struggling to get money in the door, figure out how am I paying the bills, etc., that's probably just fine. What the point of niching, though, is you're going to go deeper in a narrower area, or said another way, you're going to be a bigger fish in a smaller pond.
I love that.
Right? The value of that is you're now perceived as the expert in that area, right? And so I mean, just imagine this. You know marketing really, really well. Yeah. But if we put you on the global marketing stage, right, with other established experts, you may have the same volume of knowledge. You may be able to speak on the same breadth of things, right? But because maybe your audience or your exposure currently is small, right, you don't get a lot of attention because of that. Whereas if you say, look, I'm becoming the expert just in this area or in just this one thing, now you have the ability to gain more authority and more exposure for that one thing. And that's where real power in niching comes from, is that you are now a bigger expert in that smaller pond, and you're able to go deeper and command more income, demand more money for that perceived expertise.
Well, and I love that. And you started off by saying, that's fine if you're kind of just running and gunning when you first start as an entrepreneur. But, I think the more that we talk about it and can train it and can make it easy and understandable to niche sooner rather than later, especially for coaches, mentors, consultants, personal brands.
Yeah.
I think it's super duper important for them to niche as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So they can become that authority, that expert, because they have a lot of things coming in at them.
Yep.
The bills being one of them, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think that's where the brilliance are. So kind of give me, let's say, top 3 tips on how they kind of figure out how to niche down then.
Yeah. So the first thing is you have to know who is your best client. If you don't know who your best client is, it's really, really hard to niche down, right? I think we all know intellectually it's possible to have clients that cost you more money than they make.
They're the
right?
worst.
Right. But the reality is most of us who've been in business a while, we can point, especially to the early days, and say, man, there were a series of customers that cost us more than what we made.
Yeah.
The challenge if you niche really fast is oftentimes you don't know who your best customer is. So you have to have enough experience, and this is kind of your second tip, to know who is that best customer and what makes them such. So defining what makes them the best customer is really the big thing, right? Because otherwise you're going to be off track in your targeting. Now, when you start the niching process, we have this emotional response to niching, which is fear. Everybody that I've ever talked to, and this includes me, when you start this process, you're going through this thing where you're like, look, if I do this, I'm not going to make any money, right? I'm going to lose all of my clients, and I'm going to be broke and out on the street. I don't know what I'm going to do. The reality is just the opposite most of the time.
Right.
If you pick a good niche, if you know why and you can validate against that, you can go really deep really fast. And that's the real key here is when you are niching, what you're trying to do is you're trying to go deeper into a subject rather than shallower. So many people, they're staying shallow in that niche rather than saying, no, I need to go deep, right? That depth is where you're making money because that depth is your expertise, right? And that's the thing is, like I know people who've tried to niche in markets where they don't have expertise. Doesn't work, right? You have to be a bona fide expert to niche. And so that's kind of the third piece is know what you're good at and know what you're not good at, right? And really ask yourself, what am I an expert in?
Yeah. What can I really feel comfortable with? Because I think confidence is a big deal, especially like when we're starting off and that sort of thing. And when they talk about niches are in the riches, there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of competition. I mean, there's blessings with that, and there's maledictions with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the more that we can really think about that and dial it in, but it's also like, don't be afraid of that expert part, even if it's something that you're just talking about all the time and you're so passionate about, just start there. Just start there and really start niching into that to make it to where it's easy, and then that confidence grows, right? Yeah, I love those top tips. I think it's so important. And I think walking people through like what we're doing together right now is breaking it down to where it's like a template to where they know what steps it takes to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And how can they gain the confidence and that audience, and what do they need to beta test? Like, I think a big thing that we're really pushing is the validation to it. So speak a little bit of how are they going to validate that this is the right niche for them?
So validation really is the process of going to your target market and asking them key questions and then really listening to what they're saying so that you can get quality feedback. And that ultimately is going to lead you to whether you continue down that path or whether you abandon that path, right? Whether you make a pivot, if you will. And so when you're doing validation, the most important thing is when you're having that validation discussion with somebody, you have to speak their language, okay? I'm gonna give kind of a weird religious example because it illustrates this really clearly.
Love it.
So for most people, the term damnation in Christian circles means a specific thing.
For sure.
Right? But in Mormon circles, it actually means something different. Right? Like they have a different belief. And so they would say, well, you can go to heaven and still be damned. Right? Very interesting difference. And so if you're talking about that subject, right, but you don't agree on what the term means, you're going to be talking past each other.
Right.
And the worst thing you can do in a validation process is assume somebody knows what you're saying. Assume that they understand what you mean, and assume that their language is your language. And that's the real big thing here, is as you're going through validation, how is it that they and I can speak the exact same language so that I can actually hear what it is that they're saying, what they're agreeing with, and what they're disagreeing with. Because otherwise, you're going to be stuck in a place where you're thinking that you've validated something, but you haven't. You're thinking you're getting quality feedback, but you aren't. There's two other really big pieces here. One is validation is not asking people what they want, right? Whether it's Henry Ford, Steve Jobs, or anybody in between, they've all said, if I asked my audience what they wanted, they would have told me what they already know.
Right.
A better version of what it is that they already know. That's not what you're looking to do when you're validating.
Yeah.
You're looking to give them something new that they've never seen that actually solves their problem in a better way.
Yeah.
In a new way, in a different way, or has different features, so to speak, that really brings power to what it is that you're doing. And so you could be doing the same kind of coaching someone else is doing, but your unique twist makes that coaching more effective, faster, right? Whatever the end result happens to be, that's what you've got to validate, is when they grasp onto that vision, are they excited? Are they passionate? Do they see the passion and the value in that? Kind of the third thing with validation is validation only truly occurs when money changes hands. Okay?
100% true.
You cannot validate something that somebody is unwilling to pay for. So if you go through and you say, look, I'm going to have 20 validation phone calls, and I've had this happen. Somebody comes back to me and they say, oh, we totally validated this. It's perfect. This is exactly what they want. And I'm like, oh, fantastic. So how many sales did you make?
Yeah.
None. So you're telling me somebody wanted exactly what you had to offer?
Yeah.
They thought that it was priced appropriately. They thought that it would really solve their problem, and then they didn't buy it?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like all of those things can be true. And that's the real key here, is when you're validating, your ultimate validation is money changing hands. And I think a lot of people get confused by this, and they think validation is they agree with my idea. The reality is most people are too polite.
Friends and family.
No.
You have to go to who is going to pay the bill.
Yeah, I actually, we recommend when you're going through validation,
Yeah.
do not speak to anyone who knows you.
Yeah.
You can only speak to strangers.
Yeah.
Because that's going to give you the truest picture of what does the market in general think about this idea,
Yeah.
right? Kind of the last piece in this is only validate with your target avatar or your target market, right? If you're validating an idea with somebody you don't intend to market to,
Yeah.
you've got real misalignment. And it's very, very easy to, even if you're making a sale, to make a big mistake.
Yes.
Because suddenly you think,
Put you back.
yeah. Well, I mean, just think about it. If I say, look, my primary audience is women who are 35 to 40, okay? They're stay-at-home moms. But everybody that I talk to and I sell through my validation process are women who are 55 to 60 and they're working professionals. Guess what? Your validation did not prove that your audience that you've selected actually wanted what it was that you were selling. Now, a different audience did. And so either you need to change your audience, or better yet, you should have picked the audience you were marketing to,
Yeah.
or plan to market to, and speak just to them. And so it's not, I'm speaking to everybody that could possibly buy this. It's not, I'm speaking to anybody I can get on the phone.
Right.
It's, you're only validating with the right people.
And I think that's why that is so important. Like you mentioned alignment, right? But what that really means is your marketing is going to be so much harder if you're not aligned. It's not long lasting. It's you're going to, within 3 to 6 months to a year, you're going to start pulling your hair out because you're not able to scale and grow properly.
Yep.
Because it's not aligned.
Yep.
And it's so much harder. So super duper important. And I think one other thing is to think about in the validation process, and we're building in a lot of checkpoints for this validation part of it, is it's going to really help you fine tune your messaging. Because you're going to be actually talking, it's going to force you to start talking to actual people. You're like, oh, they really loved when I said that. Oh, they really got excited about this piece of my product or my service. And so you're going to start amping up your messaging to those things that you know got people excited. So it's really killing a lot of birds with a lot of stones, with
Yeah.
one stone. Is it starts that so you can really fine tune your messaging, and that way you're growing faster when you're setting up the top of your funnel and just different other things, the processes that we're carefully bringing you through, that you're on the right path.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. You are spot on with that.
Yeah. So a little bit ago, when you were saying that they were validating, And you really, when you go back and question them if they're really validated and no one purchased their product, can you speak to that a little bit about what that validation looks like and where does that selling come in? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when you're looking at validation, validation is ultimately the connection of idea to pocketbook. And so while validation in and of itself is not selling, it is a form of soft selling. It is a form of saying, in light of everything you've heard, are you interested in this? Right? And the only way that I truly know someone's interested is if they pay for it.
Right.
If they don't pay for it or they're unwilling to pay for it, then it's not valid. And I'll give a great example of this. We were working with a particular financial advisor as we were validating one of our high-ticket financial advisory programs. And this guy said yes to everything, right? Yes to the price, right? All the way down, yes to the program, everything makes sense, it's perfect. Later on, we had finished the program, we were ready to start putting a beta group together. I called him and I said, hey, you said that this all made sense, you said you're happy with the price point, what do you think about joining our beta group? And he said, well, you know, the company that I'm at only pays me this much in commission per sale. And I can only actually afford half of the price of the program. Or I would have to do twice as much in sales because of the commission they pay me versus another type of advisor, right? Captive versus independent. And so we're looking at this and we're saying, wow, we assumed because he said yes, that this could go to any financial advisor. Well, the reality is it was only appropriate for independent financial advisors because they made differing amounts of money. And so it's that kind of a thing where the proof ultimately is in them paying for it, not in them saying they would be willing to pay for it.
And making sure that you're asking the best questions. Like,
absolutely.
Ask better questions. Like, really dig down. Just don't, like, okay, you stroked my ego, you patted me on the head. Like, making sure you're really digging into that validation.
Yeah.
In those questions. Okay, one last thing, and I know that our time is short here, but give me just one quick example of what niching down looks like for someone.
Yeah. So I'll give a really easy example for a coach.
Okay.
Right? So let's say that what you do is you do executive coaching. Okay? You could say, well, I'm an executive coach and I work with executives. That's kind of the broad scale, right? You could also say, well, I'm going to niche down. And as an executive coach, I specialize in working with executives of companies between $5 million and $15 million. Right? And we have systems and programs designed just for businesses or executives of businesses at that level, right? It could also be that you say, I specialize in working with CFOs. So if you're a CFO of a growing organization, right, we specialize in working with you and solving the particular problems that CFOs in growing organizations have, right? That's very different than I can work with any executive, right? Because we know intuitively a CEO, a COO, a chief financial officer, CFO, right? Chief marketing or chief revenue officer, right? Chief technology. They're all facing different challenges. They have differing levels of responsibilities as it aligns with their role. And ultimately, they have different outcomes that they're trying to achieve. And so you could say, well, my mindset works for any of those, and it very well may. And if it does, let's niche down, and we're going to have 5 niches. We're not just going to have one niche, we're going to niche 5 times. And we're going to sell to each of those individually, addressing their individual needs. And that's the real heart of this, is niching down does not mean, and this is, I think, a big myth. Most people think niching down means I'm not going to sell to another audience. That's not true. Niching down means I'm going to market to a specific audience. I'm going to have collateral, messaging, and media around that audience.
To that audience, then that one, like, keep growing it. Like, nail one.
Yep.
You got it. Let's keep going. Let's
Exactly.
nail the next. Let's nail the next. Yeah.
Yep.
Super important to bring out.
And so that's I think really a great example of what a niche is, and also an example of what a niche is not. A niche is not, I don't take this kind of client. right? Now, you very well may make that business decision, but that's not because you're niching down,
Right.
right? It may be that, hey, we're so busy with CFOs, we can't take on any other kind of executive.
Yeah. It messes our flow.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't make the money or we don't like it. It's not in alignment with us.
Exactly.
I get it. Look, can someone bring a mic so the cowboy could drop a mic for us? No, thank you so much. Was that not amazing? Everybody, please put your comments in down below. We're also going to add in there you reaching out, connecting with Ken at the Prepared Group. This was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So much fun. Now let's go have some lunch.
Excellent.